This is one of America's most haunting cold cases. It's a story that starts on a quiet, normal suburban street and just spirals into this dark, tangled world of conspiracy and so many unanswered questions. For over 40 years now, the disappearance of a 12-year-old paperboy, Johnny Gosch, has completely baffled investigators and, of course, tormented his family. I mean, really, this is the question at the heart of everything. Think about it. It's a perfectly normal Sunday morning. A kid, his dog, and his paper route. And then, poof, nothing. The dog comes home, but the boy is just gone. How does something like that even happen in broad daylight? You can just feel the rising panic in his mom Noreen's words, right? The first sign something is wrong isn't a gut feeling, it's customers calling, wondering where their Sunday paper is. When the family finally realizes Johnny's missing and they call for help, well, that help was frustratingly slow to arrive, and that delay set the stage for decades of frustration. Okay, so let's go all the way back to that morning, September 5th, 1982, in West Des Moines, Iowa. Because to really understand what was lost, we have to first understand who Johnny was. See, Johnny wasn't just some abstract face on a missing poster. He was a real kid, a responsible 7th grader who stood up to bullies and, get this, used his paper route money to buy his mom a single rose. He was reliable, he was so loved, and he was only 12 years old. And look at how fast this all happens. In the dark, before the sun is even up, we just have these few fragmented sightings that tell the whole story. Johnny talking to some guy, another paperboy in the area feeling like he's being followed, a car door slamming, a car speeding away. By the time anyone even knows something is wrong, all that's left is his little red wagon, just sitting there, full of papers he'd never get to deliver. And what's so tragic is that those first crucial hours after Johnny vanished weren't filled with a massive urgent investigation. Instead, they were marked by what his family says was just incompetence, and maybe even outright obstruction from the very people who were supposed to be finding their son. The difference in urgency is just staggering. While the Gosch family is frantically putting together their own search parties, the police are allegedly stalling, talking about a 72-hour waiting period for a missing child. The police chief himself just dismissed their worst fears, suggesting Johnny was probably just a damn runaway. That one decision, that initial disbelief, it tainted the entire investigation from the start. And, the family's distrust wasn't just coming out of nowhere. Earlier that same year, an explosive newspaper report had already come out detailing some really serious allegations against the police chief, Orville Cooney. And you won't believe this, a city investigation ended up clearing him and actually punished the officers who blew the whistle. So this was the man Noreen Gosch had to trust to find her son. So for years, the case just goes ice cold. And then, out of nowhere, a shocking development comes out of a prison in Nebraska. A man named Paul Bonacci comes forward and says, he was there. He was there the day Johnny was taken. Now, Bonacci was just a teenager himself back in 1982, and his story was that he was forced to be part of the kidnapping. He claimed he was just as much a victim, that he was coerced under the threat of death to help them abduct another child. According to Bonacci, this wasn't some random, spur-of-the-moment crime. Oh no, this was a meticulously planned operation. He described how they actually rehearsed it in a hotel room, how they used him as this non-threatening kid to lure Johnny closer, and how they ultimately snatched him right off the street. Now this is the part that made Noreen Gosch believe him, because Bonacci knew things that no stranger, no outsider could possibly know. A very specific birthmark, a scar on his tongue, a burn on his leg. These 3 little details had never, ever been released to the public, and for Noreen, they gave his absolutely horrific story a chilling sense of credibility. So just when you think this story can't possibly get any stranger, it does. This next part is, for a lot of people, the most unbelievable and controversial twist in the entire case. 15 years after Johnny disappeared, his mother says he came home. It's a question that just defies any easy answer. So picture this. It's March 1997. Noreen Gosch is woken up by a knock at her door at 2:30 in the morning. And what she says happened next would completely redefine the search for her son. Can you even imagine hearing those words after 15 years of nothing but silence? Noreen says she looked through the peephole and saw a man she instantly recognized as her adult son. He was standing there with another man she didn't know, And in this tense conversation that she says lasted over an hour, this visitor claimed he'd been trafficked, used as part of a high-level blackmail ring to compromise powerful people. And that story, it echoed the same dark world that Paul Bonacci had described years earlier. The man told her he was in danger, and that just by coming to see her, he was putting her in danger too. But law enforcement was, to put it mildly, deeply skeptical. This quote from Detective Tom Boyd really sums up their whole position. It's not that they thought Noreen was making it all up exactly, but the story was just so strange. It was so far-fetched, and with zero proof, they just couldn't find it credible. And just like that, the alleged visit became another unverified, almost unbelievable chapter in this baffling saga. So where does all of this leave us? Well, after all these twists and turns, the case is pretty much what it's always been, an open wound. It's an enduring mystery that's defined way more by questions than it is by answers. And Johnny's disappearance wasn't a one-off event. Within just 4 years, 2 other paperboys from the same area, Eugene Martin and Mark Allen, also vanished. I mean, this created a genuine climate of fear in the community and raised the terrifying possibility that there was a serial predator at work. All 3 of these cases are still unsolved to this day. Over the decades, the family hasn't just had to endure the silence, but also these incredibly cruel hoaxes. In 2006, some disturbing photos were just left on Noreen's doorstep. For a minute, it seemed like it could finally be a break in the case. But they were quickly debunked. They were just old photos from a completely separate case in Florida from the 70s. And believe it or not, this story is still unfolding. As recently as 2023, Paul Bonacci has maintained that Johnny Gosch is still alive, that he's living in hiding with a family of his own, but is just too terrified of the powerful people who took him to ever come forward. More than 43 years. I mean, that is a lifetime. It's an almost unimaginable amount of time to wait and hope and fight for answers. And so here we are, left with the exact same questions that have haunted this case from the very beginning. Was this a simple, though tragic, abduction? Or did the failures of a compromised police department allow something much, much bigger and much darker to stay hidden in the shadows all this time? That is the unresolved heart of the Johnny Gosch mystery.